Same thing with men in women's sports. The president signed a very strong executive order, making it the policy of the United States federal government that there are only two sexes, male and female, and we are not going to tolerate biological men competing in sports or impeding in private spaces for women like myself or you. And we've seen states defy this federal order. You've seen the state of Maine, unfortunately, because of their liberal governor, who nobody in that state disagrees with, I will add, being from New England, I can attest to that. People are incredibly fed up with her trying to oppose this common sense message. You've seen young women who have had to go on television to plead with their governor, please stop letting men play against me in sports. We shouldn't live in a country where that even has to happen. The president deeply understands that. That's why he signed that EO. And when Maine decided not to follow it, the Department of Justice sued them. So anyone who disobeys federal law will be either prosecuted, sued, or say goodbye to your federal funding.
In a few moments, I'll sign a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports. It's about time. Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
Let's go to the United States. Tomorrow marks the 100th day in office for Donald Trump. He'll be celebrating with a big rally in Michigan, which is being titled Legendary Start. And I suppose if passing executive orders classifies as legendary, then it is a pretty impressive start. 137 executive orders in the first 100 days of his second presidency. That's more than any president since Franklin D. Roosevelt many years ago, although his approval rating is not quite so impressive. It's the lowest for any newly elected president in about 70 years. An NBC poll has just 45% of Americans approving of Donald Trump, 55% disapprove. Interestingly, 0 don't know. So everybody has an opinion. There are no undecided voters in the United States. No surprise that people don't sit on the fence when it comes to Donald Trump. When they asked voters about specific aspects of Trump's presidency, Trump failed to have a majority supporting him in any area, whether it was economy, immigration, tariffs, or even his actions on DEI. People were not in support. You can see the breakdown there. The number of people overall, 45% who approve versus 55% who disapprove. Of course, it divides up amongst party lines. 88% of Republicans approve compared to just 32% of independents and 7% of Democrats. Liz, I'm not surprised that Trump polarises people, nor am I that surprised that his popularity has gone down. I mean, the Democrats made such a mess of America. Whoever was going to come in and clean up the mess was going to have to take unpopular steps. Doge hasn't been particularly popular, and you can understand why, but it had to be done. If you're going to renovate a house, and I've seen people who've renovated houses, never done it myself, but when you watch people who renovate houses, it always looks worse before it gets better. And I would suggest that's what's happening in the US right now.
Yeah, and a lot of this had to do with his recent big tariff moves that obviously have hurt Americans, have hit them in the hip pocket. And a lot of this pushback currently would be due to that, I think. And there's also
only 39% of people supported his aspect on his policies on tariffs.
Indeed. So that was big part and parcel of it. My thing with opinion polls this early on in the election cycle is, does it really matter? The guy's in the hot seat for 4 years, so love him or hate him, he's just going to do what he thinks best is for the nation. The midterms aren't until November next year, by which point he could be soaring in the polls, who knows? So at this point of the game, it is costing you nothing to make the hard calls, clear the decks while you can, which is why he's gone so hard during his first his first 100 days. I think it's good timing. Opinion polls at this point in the election cycle are just like, who cares? He's in. He's not seeking a second term because he can't by law. So this guy can go hard for his entire 4 years and everyone's just got to suck it up.
It's amazing. Because it's interesting that immigration has gone down to a net deficit for him, because that was the one area where the majority of voters actually did still support him until very recently. Another really interesting thing is that the support he has among Democrats is 93 against who disapprove and 7 who approve. I want to find those 7%. I want to find the 7% of Democrats who think Donald Trump's doing a great job, because I reckon that would be a really interesting insight into how he got elected. And again, that sort of resonance he has with, blue-collar America who voted for Obama and then switched their vote to Trump in that Rust Belt. But I think a lot of people voted for Trump on the assumption that he wasn't actually going to do a lot of the things he said he was going to do. And then when he comes out and goes, yes, I'm really doing all the tariffs. Like, what? Yes, I'm really backing Putin. What? People have just sort of run amok, and I think Trump will probably self-correct and come back. But one more fun fact, and I just had to double check to make sure I wasn't misremembering it. But of course, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the great hero of the American Democrats, in my view, the greatest president, the greatest US president in all of history, great wartime leader. Roosevelt's New Deal got the nation through the Depression and everything. Compared to Donald Trump, who was absolutely hated by the American left and who they think is the devil in disguise, or not even in disguise, he's the Antichrist right there in front. And we know he's the Antichrist because he's secretly a dictator and he's going to run again. He's not going to step down. He's going to be a dictator for life, make himself dictator for life, and won't just step down after the 2 terms. Franklin Roosevelt, 4 terms. Franklin Roosevelt ran and won 4 successive elections in the US and only got removed from office thanks to the fact that he died